Hello everybody and welcome to Discover Me TV with Jordan Toronto, and today I have on Manuel Uriza, and I am so excited to be bringing you episode 4, and I want to start by asking you how you fell into this crazy acting business.
Well, my story is a little bit unconventional. Sometimes it kills a party buzz when I tell the story when there's other actors. But what happened is so strange. I was living in Miami doing something completely not to do with acting. Wow. And I had literally zero acting experience. And a friend of mine who is an actor and worked in Telemundo and the telenovelas and all this, nice. He called me one day saying, hey, they're doing this thing for Burn Notice, that show they're shooting in Miami. Oh. And they need like people, I don't remember what it was, like for the beach or something like that. He's like, it's like $50. I'm like, is your day off? I'm like, all right, well, let's do it. Sign me up, right? And so then he calls me the following week and he tells me, hey, we have to go in and sign a release. Yeah. I'm like, all right, so we'll go do it. So we went to their stages. I had no idea. I've never been in one of these things.
Wow.
So I see people in line and they're getting us in one by one and people are going in and out, like 30 seconds at the most. I go in and I stand where they tell me, and then some guy starts asking me questions like, so what's your name? Where are you from? And we talked for like 20 minutes about nothing, like the weather and sports. And at the end, I was like, all right, well, thank you, okay. And I leave. Following me comes out the casting director later, I learned. She tells me, the guy in there is one of the producers. He wants you to read for something else. It's more money. I was like, and my buddy's like, oh, yeah, sure, he'll do it. Right? And I didn't even know what it was. And as we're driving back, he's telling me like, oh, maybe you're the guy that brings the drinks and you say something and it's going to be like $1,000. I'm like, oh, my God, that's awesome. I'm in, right? And so they email me what they want me to read, and it's like 10 pages of dialogue. I'm like, so the first thing I do is I email back the casting director. I'm like, I don't understand because there's so many parts here that, and she was like kind of shocked. She's like, well, it's circle this, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it's like 10 pages. She's like, yeah, just, indulge us. And my first reaction was like, look, I don't do this.
Oh my god.
I don't want to waste your time, And she's like, look, it's the producer, just, you lose nothing. Like, all right.
Nice.
So I call my friend and I tell him, they want me to do this, what do I do? He says, I'll be right over, right? So he shows up.
Was it what your friend was auditioning for?
Right.
Oh.
So he comes over, and very nice guy, obviously. He sees like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And he ran me through the whole dynamic of an audition.
Oh my God.
And literally the next day I showed up there to just simply mimic exactly what my friend told me to do. Like, wow. Word for word, everything. I just, okay.
That's a good friend.
A good friend, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and okay, thank you, all right. I walk out like, wow, that was what an experience.
Wow.
10 minutes later, I get a call from the guy like, we want to book you, but we don't know who your reps are. I'm like, what do you mean reps? So long story short, my first time out, I got booked for a guest star, and it was like the main villain.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I swear I had no idea what was happening. And now that I look back to the footage of that episode, I know exactly which was the first scene we shot, which is, I kid you not, the first scene I ever shot in my life.
Wow.
And I look at it now, and I'm looking at myself, I'm like, man, I had no idea what was happening. I was just doing what they were telling me to do.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. And that, again, how synchronicities are, the guy that was the producer, Terrell, he was the showrunner.
Oh my god!
And after that, we became very good friends. And to this day, he's one of my best friends out here in LA.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was
not an accident.
It was crazy. And then talking to him, I'm like, well, why'd you cast me? I mean, I had no experience. Right. He's like, I know, but I saw so many actresses. But the way you spoke, he said, the cadence, it was exactly what I thought this character was. But I could never find it in the audition. I was like, just read it. And it turned out that...
Oh my god!
So he took a huge gamble.
That is so cool.
But it was... and that's just how it got started.
I love that. No wonder you can bring the mood down for a bunch of actors and aspiring actors who were like, you just fell into it, did you?
But you know what the takeaway is? That I had no preconception of what was going on. I'm like, go in, do this. That everybody kept telling, just be yourself.
Right. That's all you were able to do at that point is be yourself.
I had no idea what was going to happen after this.
Wow.
And so I just walked in with no expectations. I remember exactly. I didn't feel nervous. I was like,
That's probably the best way.
Yeah.
And it's hard to manufacture that again once you do start to have expectations.
Well, and later going on to other auditions, once I became an actor, then a working actor, it's hard to shake the have no expectations.
Right.
You know?
But that's where things work out. When you just walk in totally open, right?
Exactly.
I think this is our lesson, right? Which is just that notion that, which sometimes, it only works out, maybe you can't manipulate the next audition to be like that.
Right.
Maybe. But you just walked in like, I'm literally doing this for fun, right? Like, or $50 at one point.
Exactly. And as my friend told me when he was kind of running me through the whole paces, he kept telling me like, look, it's an experience.
Right.
Maybe you never do this again. Just see what's up. I'm like,
and the casting director said, you literally have nothing to lose, right?
Right. And I had nothing to lose because I had no expectations. Right. And then as you grow into it, you're like, oh man, I feel this role.
Yes.
This is a great opportunity. I love this director. I love this show. And even if you don't realize it, you start creating these little preconceptions.
Yes.
That you don't even notice that you bring them to the room.
Oh, yes. And it's wrapped up in your identity now. All of a sudden,
it's wrapped up in your DNA almost.
Yeah, where you're like, but it needs to be this because I'm this, or I'm supposed to be this.
Or an idea of what they want to hear, what they want to see, what they're looking for in this character.
But this story is the absolute proof that you don't know what it is they're hearing. And you waltzed in not an actor, and they heard what they wanted to hear.
Well, exactly.
Just in your voice.
And I think about it too, and by the conversation that I started with this guy that later became one of my best friends, it was exactly that. He was just wanting to see me, or I mean, to know me,
right?
And me just explain it to him without any expectations, like, well, if this character is like this, so I got to be a little bit more like that. Yeah, it wasn't that. It was
he just wanted to know who you.
What sports you like? Well, I played soccer, and it was just conversational. He was like, if you can do this on camera, that's what I'm looking for.
That's amazing. Well, and I remember this one script that we wrote when we were just starting. Well, actually, I didn't even write that one with my husband. But anyway, this one that we were making. And I remember we could kind of hear, as we had been reading it before we ever cast it, we just, I don't know, I remember like hearing in my head what the lead guy should sound like. And that one time, some guy who was the boyfriend of somebody else that we cast, he just waltzed in, and she was like, oh, could my boyfriend just audition too? And we were like, sure, what? Nothing to lose. And he started talking, and I was also like, oh my gosh, he's what I've been hearing in my head. So that happens, I guess. And you can't, as an actor, predict that. So do you have any other really fun audition stories?
I have this one that it kind of relates to the first one, and it's a reminder again that we put too much in our heads of what is expected of us.
Yes.
I booked last year a show called Too Old to Die Young that was in Amazon, and I did about 5 or 6 episodes. It was a very heavy recurring character. It was directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's the director of Drive.
Yeah, I feel like
and Neon Demon and Only God Forgives and the Pusher trilogy. He's a Danish guy. I mean, he's like big.
Major.
And I walked in, I went to the audition, and they sent me the audition pages, right? And half of them were in Spanish, or were supposed to be in Spanish, which is fine because it's my first language.
Oh.
My experience has always been that when they send me that in English, it's like, and these need to be said in Spanish, they're leaving the translation up to me.
Oh, right.
So I don't even bother about memorizing. I'm like, whatever, because nobody knows, nobody understands except me, right? So I just I'm like, okay, so here I'm mad, and here I want him to get out, and I just make the words as I go, because nobody is ever policing me on that, right?
Fascinating,
so I go into the first audition, and I do it like that, and I go. And then I get called back with the director.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm prepared the same way. I show up to the room, and right as we're about to walk through the door, like, Manuel, you ready? Come on in. As I'm walking in, the casting turns around like, oh, by the way, Nick doesn't speak Spanish, so we're going to do them all in English. I was like, I didn't memorize any of these. And I started like panicking.
Oh my
and I'm already in the room in front of the director.
And so you're thinking like...
Well, he might have seen my face. He's like, any questions?
And like, so many questions.
Well, I told him, well, I'm going to be honest with you. And I told him, like, I don't do this. So if you give me 20 minutes, I'll memorize it and come back. And he told me, his words, word for word. He says, the script is going to change 1,000 times before we ever set up a camera. I'm here to see you, not to hear you say my words back at me.
Wow.
So make it up in English if you have to.
Right.
all right. So I started riffing and doing and making it up, and he's like, "Oh." And I walked out. I was like, wow, I hope you're just not being nice, you know?
But he seemed all happy.
Right. Well, I booked it.
That's so cool.
And it was another reminder, like, that's it. They're there to see us, not to see their words read back at them. And that has led into every time I approach an audition, it's like that. It's don't worry about words. Don't worry about this. It's make it your own. What makes you feel comfortable? What allows you to be yourself the most?
Right.
And go with that.
Gosh, yes.
Right.
And probably the times that you have to, because you've been put in a situation where you just have to fall into being so real and so honest about what's happening that you can't even keep up some facade of whatever you think you're walking in with, like the professional.
Exactly.
You just have to be like, I got to be real right now. This is what's happening. And all of a sudden, it's probably the most you know that you are.
Exactly.
So tell me, is there anything where, like, maybe your own personal life and things outside of acting have sort of informed your acting in a way that has made you feel like you've kind of made a discovery about yourself?
I played soccer all my life. I went to college playing soccer. I got to play professional a little bit, and it's that you don't realize this because you're so young, and they kind of groom you to that even since you're a kid, to start to block out outside pressures. And when it's game time, you're present. You're the most present you can be, and focused, and everything doesn't exist. And then that carries on because as you get older, and in college, and then of course when you play professional, you go to very hostile stadiums and very hostile people, you know, that throw stuff to the field. It's pretty barbaric.
Gosh.
But you learn to kind of block those out.
Wow.
And just create your own reality, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like the space between your ears is only yours.
Ooh.
And you create your own reality there.
I love that.
And then when I started acting, then I was able to start doing plays, which I love. I had a hard time, not a hard time, but I noticed how, for instance, I had to keep being reminded to hold for laughs or this or that. Because I block everything instinctively, and I'm in it, I'm in it. And I guess the takeaway of that is that if anything taught me, and is that what I just said, the space between your ears is only yours. So it's cool. Your world, and the rest of the material things around you just live in your world, and you decide what you want to make of it.
That's awesome.
I think that's kind of the approach I try to bring to every audition.
Sure.
We're actors. We're going to miss out on a lot more than we're ever going to get.
Sure.
You know?
Yes.
Like the odds are not even fair, not even close.
Right.
But that's how I think I approach it. I try and approach it as that. Okay, this is my interpretation of this. This is how I would do it. I hope you guys like it.
Right.
That's all you can do. Because then when you get into the whole, I hope this is what they're looking for. I'm going to dress exactly. Or I have friends, actors that I help them put on tape.
Yeah.
And they say a word wrong. Like, I don't know, the line is, I'm going to go out and buy some milk. And they say, I'm going to go buy some milk. Oh, hold on, let's do it again because I got to go out and buy some milk. I'm like, forget about that, man. Don't just get out of your head. Say it like it's yours.
Yes.
Back to the Nicholas Riffin thing. That's going to change 1,000 times. And if they're not booking you because you missed a word, you were just not right for it. Because if you're right for the
they don't care about the word out.
They don't care about it. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Oh gosh, I really love that so much. And it's like the space between your ears is yours. And I think I just heard, when you just said get out of your head, it's also like get everybody else out of your head. I think that's what you were taught so young.
Exactly.
Everything else doesn't necessarily belong there unless you decide to put it there.
Right. And at the same time, and this is going to sound a little like out there, but it goes to, it also goes to, there's a big factor of being present. Because you can block out things and become numb.
Sure.
But it's blocking out the exterior so that you can be present in your own reality.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's what I carried from sports. It's like, what matters is what you're doing in this grid and how you're supposed to move. And you got to be aware where everybody is, where the ball is, where everything.
Sure.
But block out things that are outside.
That don't have anything to do with that, right?
Exactly.
So it's about focus, not just numb to everything.
Focus, being present, at the same time being open, because in my sport at least, it's 90 minutes of constant changing dynamic, if you will.
Yeah.
Because you're always moving, you're always running, but it's all but you gotta keep an open mind to whatever changes. You can adapt to it.
Right, but when you're kind of in that zone and you
Yeah.
know where your focus is and where it is not, I guess. Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
I think that also carries on to set. You
Yes, absolutely. Because then there's a lot of things that you do not need to be paying attention to.
know? Right, exactly. And directors, when they show up to set,
Yeah.
and I've heard this so many times, when you show up to set, you realize the last thing you want to worry about is if the actor learned his lines, if the you have so many moving parts going around.
Yes.
The shots, the this, the light, that. The last thing you want is that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you as an actor, all you can do is show up prepared in your headspace.
Yes.
And do your thing and be open to what the director needs. Like, okay, that was great, but I need you to do this more. Okay, you're still in your space, but then you adapt to what they're asking.
I love it.
So it's a constant
Yeah.
learning, and it's constant evolving.
But it's like a life philosophy that really serves you kind of in whatever it is you're doing. Yeah.
Right, and like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sure.
I don't think it's there's a end line to it.
Right.
It's just a constant everyday reminder.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody or anything that you feel like, any art, any book, any music out there that you think more people should know about this this person or this piece of art?
Oh my God! Yes. Well, and I'm not just because she's my wife,
Aww.
but she is. My wife's a fantastic actress too. And the way she approaches it, that I think is the way when I've helped her audition and all this, is the way she approaches her roles. I'm like, I like that. She asks a lot of questions. And she's forced me to ask questions. Like when I ask her to help me or coach me on something, she doesn't go into the nitty gritty. She's just like asking me questions. And what do you think about that? And there's not an answer, but it's question after question. And that becomes like a discovery thing for me. I'm like, I didn't think of that, but you're right. I'm going to think about it, and it helps you kind of build a little bit, give some text, give some teeth to the painting of a lion. Sometimes that's a script, because that's a lion that's painted. It's your job to give it teeth.
Ah, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. I think
wonderful.
that, and
So tell our viewers your wife's name.
oh, my beautiful wife's name is Barbara Holland.
So you can look her up too.
Yes, absolutely.
So she helps with that notion that by giving you sort of that idea of what to start asking, you make discoveries that you might not have made without her encouragement to ask the question.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
So speaking of discoveries, Discover Me TV.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for watching this episode of Discover Me TV. I am Jordan Toronto. This is Manuel Uriza, and I've been so happy to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
So please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.